somebody whose brain is well and truly in it, live from Switzerland just now, is our reporter Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Hello Courtney, how are you doing?
Yeah, good afternoon both. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good, thanks. So match day -1, you've just had the press conference with Serena Wiegmann. How's the feeling in camp? I mean, this is going to be a tough test tomorrow. The Swedes are looking good.
Yeah, it is. I think, look, all the way through the camp there's been a positive vibe. Obviously after the France game that changed a little bit, and I think that sharpened the focus, but still I think they're happy in camp, they're playing well, and I think that excitement now, you know, as you get to the knockouts, and it's sort of obviously win or bust, isn't it? So I think there's that focus again is sharpened a little bit. But I think the biggest thing that I've noticed this camp is how together this squad are. They're enjoying themselves, they've always got a smile on their faces. But you're right, Shebahn, in terms of Sweden, they're going to be a real tough test, and I think something a little bit different in comparison to what England have already faced, in terms of, you know, they're a big team, very physical, they've got a lot of threat from set pieces as well, which I think is going to be a big change from what we've seen so far.
Do you think the first defeat might in a bizarre way stand them in good stead, because you're in knockout football straight away? Basically you lose the first game in tournament football, and maybe that levelling them early on might have stood them in good stead going forward into these knockout stages.
Yeah, I think you've got that spot on. It sharpened the focus. I think Ella Toon's exact words was it gave us a bit of a kick up the backside, and I've spoken to Lucy Bronze earlier as well, in the flash zone really quickly, and then she said sort of the same thing. I said, how does it feel going into the knockouts? She said, well, to be honest, with the last two group games we already felt like we're in the knockouts, because we knew we had to win those two games because of France. So yeah, I think if there was any complacency in there, then that's completely disappeared for the lionesses, and they're certainly firing on full cylinders at the moment.
We can hear from Serena Wiegmann now. She said that she is wary of the threat that Sweden will pose.
Well, I think they're really together. It's a powerful team. They always have a very clear tactical plan, and they execute that always very good. And they have some threats up front, of course, and with the counter-attack, but also when they want to go in behind. And they have some height too in the team.
Sweden, Courtney, as we know, there's not much between Sweden and England in the rankings. The world rankings, England in 5th, Sweden just behind them in 6th. But we know they're a very, very strong side. I just think, Courtney, this is the game where we're going to have to see that real, like, true grit and character from England. They're going to have to win it, even if it has to be ugly, you know?
Yeah, and look, it doesn't matter in tournament football what it looks like to an extent. We've been blessed with 2 games where the lionesses have played really well, played some fantastic football. But you're right, it might have to be a gritty performance, a performance that's not going to be very pretty. I don't think there's going to be many goals in this one. It's probably going to be close. I'm sitting here thinking it might be decided, you know, by a set piece. But I think you're right. In terms of Sweden, they're very close in the rankings. The last 2 Nations League games, they were 0-0 as well, extremely close. And yeah, I think it's interesting as well in terms of the comments that have been coming out from Asllani as well, saying, you know, really focusing on that team element, saying how together they are. And I think, you know, we've got a lot of standout performers in this England team, but I still think we're a great team. But maybe for them, they feel they have to come together, and sort of they as a team are bigger than the sum of their parts, if that makes sense. So I think we're in for a real good game. It's not necessarily going to be lots of goals and as exciting as the last 2, but I think it is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very tactical.
Any injuries at all within the team or the squad as we stand?
We've not got any injuries. We did have Jess Park today not training because of a migraine, but Serena sort of already answered the question in the press conference, saying she already feels a little bit better. She's obviously sort of been in a dark room, some paracetamol, I'm sure, but yeah, she is in contention for tomorrow. She'll be in the squad as far as Serena is concerned, so we've pretty much got a clean bill of health.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to in this game, guys? It's like the battle of the Arsenal strikers. So Stina Blackstenius, of course, for the Swedes, who scored the goal for Arsenal to win the Champions League, and Alessia Russo. You know, they're one of the most informed goal scorers we've got in this country, if not in the world, as well. So to see who wins the kind of on those opposite numbers will be interesting for this game, Courtney.
Yeah, it will be, and I think the other one is probably when you look at Johanna Rytting-Kaneryd and obviously Lucy Bronze, their Chelsea teammates, and I think Johanna's got 2 Player of the Match performances, trophies already. So yeah, there's a lot over the pitch. Obviously you've got Bjorn as well, who's at Chelsea. So I think that's been one of the really cool things about this tournament, because we've noticed as the WSL is increased in in its popularity, and a lot of players from all over the world, but especially in Europe, wanting to play in the WSL, we're finding quite often these matchups and the the Netherlands and England, I think there were 17 WSL players within that game that featured. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting for the WSL fans, whether they be here or back at home to watch as well.
Have you seen any comparisons? We were speaking off air earlier about the squad and the team of a couple of years ago, you know, that won the trophy. Do you think this squad's stronger, not as strong, or still got the perceptions to go on and win the trophy? Tricky one for you.
That's a really interesting question. Yeah, it's one that I've not been asked, so I like that. I think they can go on and win it. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be really tough. I think they've got the quality. I think there's maybe, I'll say, better quality throughout the squad, but I think that maybe the depth is better. But the only thing maybe we're lacking is a little bit of experience. I know we've got the likes of Lucy Bronzes and players like that, but obviously in terms of Hannah Hampton, it's her first major tournament. There's a lot of players in the squad that's their first major tournament, so maybe that's a little bit where, you know, we've got less experience in 2022. But I think as an increased quality, I think just as the women's games progressed as well, even over a short period of time, I think the squad is in a better place. But I suppose the problem with that is every other nation as well is in a better place.
Yeah, exactly that. The standard's been unbelievable. Can we talk about Norway against Italy tonight? It's live on talkSPORT 2, Courtney. I mean, Italy, if the lionesses are to progress past the Swedes, it could be Italy or Norway, of course, that they face, which actually seem like winnable games as well. But Norway have to do something, because they're like, they get to major tournaments and then they just don't really do much at all, do they? And they're such a good side.
Yeah, they are, and I think, look, it is difficult, you know, when you go through sort of these FIFA rankings, friendlies, Nations League, but I think when you get into a tournament like this, it's completely different. And I think we sort of said a similar thing about Wales in terms of they didn't really appreciate the demands. And I know it's different for Norway because they've been there and done it, but, you know, when you play in a Nations League, for example, and you've got 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it may be, between the games, it's fine, and then you go back to club, whereas this, you're here for a prolonged period of time, you're here for 4 weeks, you've not got, especially in the group stages, too long between the games, so the rest and recovery and how thick and fast that comes, I think is difficult. And I think, as you say, in recent years Norway have struggled with that, but I've been really impressed with Italy. They're exciting to watch. I think the fact that, again, you see sort of the happiness within that camp, they're excited to obviously progress into the quarter-final. So yeah, I think it's easy to look there and go on paper and say, well, you know, and a lot has been said about, you know, if England get through this, we're in the final. I don't prescribe to that. Yes, on paper, Norway, Italy, we should beat either of those teams, but we know football's not played on paper. Anything can happen. I think the Sweden-Germany game showed that. It only takes one mistake and something to happen that, you know, it completely changed the complexion of the game.
Very true. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, our reporter in camp, thank you so much for taking the time today. Don't forget Norway against Italy live on talkSPORT 2 tonight, and tomorrow 8 o'clock here on talkSPORT, the Lionesses against Sweden. I just don't see a world in that the Lionesses don't get past them, like, comfortably. Stu?
This is tournament football. You've got to handle everything that comes with it. If it was that easy, everyone would do it, you know. It's not. It'll be a tough game one way or the other. If England play to their full strength, they'll win the game.
Remember last time, 2022, that was the Alessia Russo back heel?
Yeah.
Was against, and they battered them.
Yeah.
But then the Swedish do look good this time.
The one thing I like as well with Lee Carsley with his under-21s, they went back and retained the trophy.
It's so hard to do.
If the women can do that as well. But there's an inner belief. You know, football's like, we've done it before, we can do it again. Even, as Courtney said, there's players that have not been in that squad and not experienced that in sort of tournament football, but the squad have. And above the door it said, champions now, you know, and they've seen the trophy at St George's Park, all of those types of things. It breeds confidence.
Absolutely. And if it is another Spain-England final, you think England will be hurt enough from what happened in the World Cup final that they would go and do some damage. Very, very fascinating.
Exciting times.
It is indeed. All live for you here exclusively on talkSPORT, the Lionesses against Sweden, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. That was a look ahead, all thanks to McDonald's.